What's up, YouTube? It's Kenny again. Wanted to make a video today to talk a little bit more about Hyliion, about this new news story, and some connections that I've drawn that, that last video, I just kind of threw it out there as soon as I saw the news. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about it, all right? So before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a truck driver driving across the country, researching and trading stocks, and I will not be held responsible for any moves you make in the stock market. I am not your mama, not ever. I do not have a crystal ball. Sorry, I know. I had some people, and I'm sure you saw that Real Talk video, but, I'm just buying the companies that I believe in, guys, okay? So if you jump in and buy a stock just because I said it, and then you get burned, don't come back crying to me. We're all going to jump on you because I say it in every video. I'm not your mama, all right? Do your own research. So hit that subscribe button, guys. If you like the real talk, the real content, hit that subscribe button. Like the video. And leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think about all this. Also, I want to take a moment to say another big thank you to J-Mac. J-Mac joined my Patreon. He's the second person to join the Patreon. Man, I just really appreciate your support, bro. I'm glad to see that you jumped back in on Hyliion. And I know you still were holding some shares, but I'm glad to see you increased your position again and you agree with me. And I'm really glad that you like the content. All you guys, go check out J-Mac's channel if you haven't seen him. And subscribe to the Patreon. Throw me some support. Support the channel. Help me build a retirement. It's all going to go into the stock market. And I'm working on a way to put the YouTube and Patreon money into its own specific portfolio so that we can watch that together. Yeah, hit me up on Patreon. So yeah, I know that was a much longer introduction than usual. Okay, so Hyliion released this news saying they've formed this coalition between them and all of these other companies, mostly trucking companies. Now, a couple of these companies in particular are huge trucking companies, okay? Schneider operates over 10,000 long-haul trucks, okay? Schneider is a huge trucking company, okay? And Werner as well is a huge trucking company. These two trucking companies have been around for a long time, okay? Ryder is a really big company, but they're more like a rental company. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And some of the other players in this coalition are large companies as well, okay? But the two that stand out to me as a long-haul truck are Schneider and Werner. Now, a connection, a parallel that I've drawn, okay, is that Hyliion says they want to work with companies that are focused on environmental concerns, okay? Now, this is interesting in the case of Schneider in particular, okay? I'm not real familiar with Werner and what their stance is or whatever, but something that I've talked about in the past in relation to Hyliion are what are called glider trucks. Okay, now, up until a few years ago, they had companies that made glider trucks, okay? And what a glider truck is a brand new truck with an old engine in it. And if you have ever had an older vehicle, okay, they don't have to go through emissions like an older pickup truck. You don't have to hook it up to the machine and get the emissions tests and all that stuff, okay? Well, this is the same principle, only applied to big trucks. So an older big truck, I believe it's like a 2005 or something and older, do not have to have the DEF, which is a fuel type, a fluid that we have to add, and the DPF canisters and the whole big cantankerous emission system, okay? And so a lot of people will gravitate towards those older trucks so that they don't have to have all of this emission stuff on their truck, all right? Because it constantly, has problems and stuff. Now, not so much today, but in particular, the first iterations of it, the first 5-6 years, it had a lot of issues, okay? And so it's real expensive to fix and stuff. And these guys, these truck drivers don't care about the emissions. What they care about is not spending a bunch of money fixing that truck, okay? And so my point is that the government limited the number of glider trucks a few years ago. I don't know exactly how long ago it was, okay? They decided that, all of these people buying these glider trucks were skirting the emissions laws, and then by using them, they're able to get a brand new truck with an old engine in it. That way they don't have to have any of the emission systems. Okay, the point is that there were some companies that were the ones who contributed to the fact that the government had to regulate gliders, and Schneider was one of those, okay? Schneider didn't care about the emissions. Schneider wanted to not have to spend a bunch of money fixing emission systems. And so Schneider had bought up tons of these glider trucks. And I believe they're still getting rid of some of them today. I mean, this was not that long ago when the government regulated these gliders. So maybe they are committed to the environment, okay? But it didn't show in the way they were snatching up those glider trucks. I mean, some of these companies were like basically buying whole fleets of just glider trucks so they didn't have to do all the emissions standards. So the point with this is that it kind of proves my point, okay, that companies and owner operators are so desperate to get away from the DEF and the DPF canisters and all of these expensive sensors and this whole expensive emission system. I mean, one little sensor goes out and that's $2,000 or $3,000. I mean, working on a truck is expensive, okay? So these guys are so desperate to get away from these emission systems that, man, they want another solution, okay? And the government snatched away the only solution they had, which was those gliders, to get away from it. And once this ERX system drops, okay, they will have a new way to get away from all of these emission systems. It's going to be a big deal for them to be able to not have to do all of this maintenance to these emission systems, guys. It's a big deal. It's expensive, very expensive. And once big company like Schneider, because see, that's why I mentioned Schneider in particular. Schneider is a huge company, okay, and if they are able to outfit a whole bunch of their trucks with this ERX system, if they like it enough to do that, and I believe they will, okay, that is going to have a huge impact on the rest of the truck driving community. Like, it's one thing for them to get this first ERX and drive it around, okay? But if they make a big order of the ERX system and put it in a bunch of their trucks, and if they do the same thing that they did when gliders were available, and they're like, we'll basically do anything to not have to fuck with these emission systems, and they put a whole bunch of these ERXs on their trucks, a bunch of other companies are going to follow suit. And then owner-operators are going to take notice. And they're going to be like, hey, this is a way for me to really get away from all this bullshit I'm dealing with. It's just another argument for Hyliion, guys. I really think that just like on a lot of different levels, they're getting it right. And, the way that they're building the system that goes into the truck instead of a diesel and a regular transmission, it's a game changer, guys. Like, it's something that, when they start working with OEMs to install these in the from the factory or from the point of sale, it's going to be a huge deal. And another thing I wanted to point out is that Daimler, like, they had, I'm not sure what they're doing at this point, but at one point they had been installing the hybrid electric system. And Daimler, they were at one point the only OEM, they own Freightliner, they were the only OEM that you could go to and get a glider with a remanufactured engine installed in it from the dealer, Daimler, okay, Freightliner. They're not publicly traded, but I heard something that they may be doing an IPO sometime before the end of the year. But, you know, and the first ERX, the one that they were driving around now, you know, doing the testing on and stuff, is on a Freightliner. And Daimler has already worked with Hyliion in the past. So it is not beyond the realm of possibility that right off the bat, Daimler could be installing these from, you know, stock from the factory. Okay, I would not at all be surprised. Daimler is already set up to put gliders in Freightliners. So they kind of got rid of that after the government regulated it, you know, because now it's just not realistic. But the fact is that if they can even get one other truck OEM like Kenworth, Peterbilt, they're working with Peterbilt. If they can get Freightliner and Peterbilt to both install these as stock options from the factory, guys, this thing's going to take off, okay? And Schneider uses Freightliners, and Werner uses Freightliners. They use a bunch of different trucks. They also use Peterbilts. So, guys, it's coming for Hyliion. Like, I can just feel it in my bones. Like, all of these things are converging and coming together, and it's just a matter of time before the market cannot hold that stock back anymore. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, guys. Something bad could happen. It could go to zero. I don't see it happening, but it's possible. Don't come crying to me if that happens. Do your own research. But, you know, I just see all of these connections, and I just don't see how it fails, all right, going forward if you hold it. And that's just my thoughts on it. I hope this is interesting to you. Let me know if there's, you know, if you found something that I missed, or, you know, or maybe if something I said doesn't make sense for some reason, let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment. And guys, join that Patreon. Join the Patreon. Support the channel. Thanks for watching.